It's week 9, day 60 of my full-time chronic pain rehabilitation journey. I'm Jason, and today I'm going to talk about Miracle Morning, a program by a man named Elrod, why it's so miraculous, and how to adapt it to a chronic condition. But first, a quick status update. I'm tired. I didn't sleep well last night, and it's my daughter's 4th birthday. So since I was up anyway, I drove to Walgreens around 6 a.m. to get some breakfast cereal and a special drink. And the reason I did this, it's a family tradition. We forgot to do it last night. And what I found out is because of COVID, Walmart isn't open 24 hours anymore. And my neighborhood grocer reduced their hours also. So I couldn't find any place. I had to drive really far out to Walgreens and get it for her. But I took it all in stride and decided to play the role of the hero. So this morning I was my daughter's hero. Now for the tip. You need to control change in your program. Don't make too many changes at once. So a week or so ago, I had increased pain levels and I couldn't figure out why. And it's because I changed 2 things at the same time. One, I added scraping at the recovery center. It's a new therapy that I'd never done before. And I started using my foam roller every day because my back was bugging me a little bit more than usual. So was it the foam roller that caused the increased pain, or was it the scraping? I couldn't tell. And so I had to drop the scraping to kind of get back to a state of equilibrium and then reintroduce these things one at a time. So you're going to be tempted to go too fast and do too many things all at once. And you really need to resist that temptation because it makes it almost impossible to figure out what's setting you off. All right, on to today's topic, which is Miracle Morning. What's so miraculous about it? Well, I don't know if I'd use the term miracle to describe it yet. I've been doing it on and off for about 2 weeks. I think about every 4 days out of 7, I'm able to do the full program, and then the other days I do a partial program. Has it made a difference in my life? Absolutely. I guess I should tell you what it is before I actually go into how miraculous it is, but the backstory for Miracle Morning is there's a guy named Elrod, and he kind of wanted to figure out how he could excel and become better than what he was. So he researched online all the techniques that people use to essentially become great. And he combined all of them. So he's like, well, I don't know which one of these is better, so I'll just do all of them. And the combination of all of those becomes what he calls Miracle Morning. There's a book, there's a movie, so you can look it up and read about it. But I'm going to give you kind of the synopsis of what it is and how to apply each of these principles or techniques that he developed. He didn't really develop, he just aggregated them. And how to apply them to a person with a chronic condition like I have. All right, so there's an acronym for all of the techniques. It's called SAVERS, and they stand for, if I can remember, silence, affirmations, visualizations, exercise, reading, and scripting. Silence really is just is a way of describing meditation, and then the scripting just means journaling. So don't get confused too much by the acronym. That's all it really means. So I'm going to go down each of these principles in turn and describe how I do it. So meditation, I use an app called Waking Up by Sam Harris. My wife also has found some other meditation apps that we sometimes use in different scenarios. But the idea is just get an app and start trying to meditate. The idea is basically just to sit with your own mind and notice what's going on. Be an observer of what's happening. And then you might be able to disconnect yourself a little bit from the flurry of emotions and thoughts that's going to come into your brain at any given moment during the day. So you start with silence. Then you move on to the second part of the acronym, the SAVERS acronym, which is affirmations. And affirmations are just things that you say to yourself that you want to be true. They might already be true, but they're things that you want to be. So, for example, when I'm sitting in the cold tub, I have a list of affirmations I go over, and I'll share some of those with you really quick right now. One of those is I'm confident, I'm capable, I'm collected, that kind of stuff. And so you make a list of affirmations that are pertinent to your life, where you're at right now, things that you want to be or strengthen about yourself. And you just literally go down the list and you read them. So it's pretty straightforward. And some of them might seem a little fake because you may not believe those things about yourself yet, but the idea is to basically give yourself some counter-programming. So you probably have some narrative and a script that you run in your brain that's pretty negative all the time. So you need something to kind of counterbalance that, and this is a chance to sort of do that. The next letter in the SAVERS acronym is V for visualizations. And Hal actually created a board, like a physical board, and he would take magazine clippings and printouts from the internet and post them up there and look at that board every day. I didn't do that. I adapted it slightly. And what I do is write down things I want to visualize, and then I just imagine them in my mind. So for example, I'm writing a book about my journey, and so I visualize that book. What does it look like when it's actually printed? And that's an example of a visualization. I have like 4 or 5 things I visualize. And that's pretty much all there is to it. And then the next letter in the SAVERS acronym is E for exercise. And this doesn't have to be too complicated. All I do is some step-ups for a little while just to kind of get my heart rate up and get my body moving. Nothing too complicated. If you do a more intense routine, you can get an app that does like a more intense workout for 5 to 10 minutes. I think this is actually a good idea. Find an app that does something like this, because if you go on vacation, for instance, and you don't have access to a gym, you can't do your normal exercise routine, it would be nice to have some kind of calisthenic / yoga / whatever routine in place so that you can just rely on that. And if you're traveling, for instance, you can have that there, and you can do it no matter what. So I think getting an app would be a good idea, but for me, right now I'm just doing some step-ups on the couch to exercise my legs and get my heart rate up. The next letter in the acronym, the SAVERS acronym, is R for reading. It doesn't matter what you read. A lot of time people will get out self-help books and just read for a little while. I read my scriptures every morning. I'm trying to foster that habit of putting myself more in touch with the divine, with God. And so for me, I want to read scriptures daily anyway. My religion advocates for this. And so it makes sense for me just to do the reading then. The next letter, actually the final letter in the SAVERS acronym, is S for scribing. Scribing is a fancy word, again, just for journaling. And so I have a Google Doc, and I create a single doc for every month. And then within that month, I just put an entry for each day that I do the scribing. And what I usually do that morning is journal for the day prior. Some people will do this the night before. I just do it in the morning. That's worked pretty well. And I have a couple of adaptations that I do. One is I don't keep a separate gratitude journal, but I will put a line in every entry to say what I'm grateful for, what I'm feeling grateful for at that moment. And then there's another technique I learned, which is called future scribing, I think future scribing. Anyway, what it is you basically speak about yourself as you want to be in the future. So I have one line that I'll say like, I am an accomplished author. And this works in some fashion because your mind doesn't distinguish well between reality and non-reality. So whatever you tell it, in part, has some weight. And so almost as if it were true. And so I'll have a line in there about something I want to be. Future scribing is what I call it. I want to be a great author, for instance. So I have some other adaptations for this SAVERS program that I'd like to share with you that are just my own. Before I even start Miracle Morning, I will get in the cold shower. I've adopted cryotherapy as a way of life. I just do it every day. And so I take a cold shower every morning just to turn my brain on, wake me up, get myself really breathing. I think is the real advantage is it just takes your breath away a little bit and causes you to actually breathe deeply. So I do that to breathe deeply, and it wakes me up. And then I get a bottle of water. I'll put a little bit of salt in it and then add some kind of citrus flavoring, whether it's lime or lemon, and drink a full bottle of water. That works really well, just to kind of get, again, my body engaged, my digestive system going. It just makes me feel hydrated and good. And then I also turn the lights on. So I want to wake myself up, stop the sleep cycle in its tracks. If I can, I go outside and look at the sun. If it's the wrong time of year like winter, you have to stay indoors, but you can at least turn the lights on and signal to your brain that sleep time is over. Another adaptation that's really important is Hal recommends you do 10 minutes for each thing in the SAVERS acronym. There are 6 activities, and so that ends up being 60 minutes. I find this impractical for most people. I don't have a whole hour in the morning to blow, usually, and so I've adapted it down to 30 minutes. So 5 minutes per activity in the SAVERS acronym is enough for me. That works pretty well. And then even further, if I'm running behind one day, I drop it down to 1 of the acronyms in the SAVERS acronym. And I usually favor meditation because I can do it anywhere, no matter what's happening. And then for people with chronic conditions, you may not have a consistent wake time. A lot of people will have they advocate the 5 a.m. miracle, get up at 5 a.m. every morning. And there are days when I think it doesn't make sense to do that. There are times when I get so fatigued that I can just tell that my body needs for me to take additional rest time and have a more elongated rest period. And it's not that I'm lazy, it's just that I really do need to recover. And so if you can't get up the same time every day, I wouldn't fret about that too much. But just when you get up, go ahead and do the miracle morning routine. And if you're running really behind, just do one of the things in the miracle morning routine, one of the letters that you favor in the acronym. And then you can count it as a success. This doesn't have to be a super rigid, inflexible ritual, but it can be adapted to pretty much any circumstance or any day, regardless of when you woke up and how busy you might be or how rushed you might feel. Fighting for your life means developing routines. How you start and end your day can make a world of difference. Until next time, keep fighting for your life.